Rice looks deceptively simple, yet the way it is processed before it ever reaches the pot quietly determines how much nutrition it delivers, how it behaves metabolically, and how enjoyable it is to eat. Parboiled rice, white rice, and brown rice all come from the same grain, but their numbers tell very different stories once nutrient retention, digestion, cooking behavior, and real-world usability are taken into account. What emerges is not a hierarchy of good and bad, but a set of tools that serve different people and life stages in surprisingly complementary ways. White rice is produced by milling away the bran and germ, leaving almost pure starch. Nutritionally, this means lower fiber, lower magnesium, lower B vitamins, and minimal fat. From a numbers perspective, white rice retains roughly 5 to 10% of the original fiber and significantly less iron, zinc, and B vitamins than the intact grain. However, what it loses in micronutrients, it gains in predictability and digestibility. White rice cooks quickly, absorbs water evenly, and produces a soft, uniform texture that is easy to chew and easy to digest. For populations with compromised digestion, reduced appetite, or increased energy needs, these traits matter. White rice is also commonly enriched in many countries, partially restoring lost B vitamins, which narrows the nutritional gap more than many people realize. Brown rice sits at the opposite end of the milling spectrum. Because the bran and germ remain intact, brown rice retains most of the grain's original fiber, magnesium, phosphorus, manganese, and B vitamins. Numerically, brown rice can contain 3 to 4 times the fiber of white rice and substantially more magnesium, a mineral strongly linked to insulin sensitivity and cardiovascular health. The trade-off appears in cooking time and texture. Brown rice takes longer to cook, requires more water, and produces a firmer, chewier grain. That intact bran layer also slows starch digestion, resulting in a lower glycemic response and longer-lasting satiety for many people. From a metabolic perspective, brown rice behaves more like a slow-release carbohydrate, especially when properly cooked and paired with fats or proteins. Parboiled rice occupies a fascinating middle ground that is often overlooked. Before milling, parboiled rice is soaked, steamed, and dried while still in its husk. This process drives water-soluble vitamins and minerals from the outer layers into the starchy endosperm. When the rice is later milled, far more nutrients remain than in conventional white rice. In numerical terms, parboiled rice can retain 2 to 3 times more B vitamins and minerals than standard white rice, while still cooking faster and more predictably than brown rice. The heat treatment also partially gelatinizes starch, which then retrogrades during drying, increasing resistant starch content. This gives parboiled rice a firmer texture and a gentler glycemic profile compared with regular white rice. Texture differences reinforce these nutritional distinctions. White rice tends to be soft, fluffy, and slightly sticky depending on the variety, making it ideal for dishes where tenderness is prized. Brown rice is nutty, chewy, and more structured, which appeals to those who enjoy texture and fullness. Parboiled rice cooks into distinct, separate grains with a lightly firm bite, resisting mushiness even with extended cooking. This makes it especially forgiving for large batches and reheating, an advantage in both home kitchens and institutional settings. Cooking time is another practical factor that influences nutritional payoff. White rice typically cooks in 12 to 15 minutes, brown rice often takes 35 to 45 minutes, and parboiled rice usually falls in between at around 20 to 25 minutes. For busy households, parboiled rice offers a compelling balance, better nutrient retention than white rice with far less time commitment than brown rice. Pressure cooking narrows these differences further, making brown and parboiled rice more accessible without sacrificing their benefits. When recommendations are tailored to specific populations, the picture becomes even more nuanced. For older adults, ease of chewing and digestion often matters more than maximum fiber. Parboiled rice and well-cooked white rice can be excellent choices, especially when combined with vegetables, legumes, or fish to supply missing micronutrients. The firmer texture of parboiled rice also helps prevent overcooking into a paste, preserving appetite and enjoyment. For people managing diabetes or insulin resistance, brown rice and parboiled rice generally outperform white rice in glycemic response. Brown rice's fiber and intact structure slow digestion, while parboiled rice's resistant starch and altered starch structure reduce glucose spikes compared with regular white rice. Cooling and reheating either type further improves blood sugar stability by increasing resistant starch, a simple kitchen strategy with measurable metabolic benefits. Athletes and highly active individuals often benefit from flexibility rather than restriction. White rice shines here because it provides rapid, easily accessible energy, particularly around training. Parboiled rice offers a middle path for meals further from exercise, supplying steadier energy without heaviness. Brown rice works well for recovery meals when fiber and minerals support overall metabolic resilience, provided total calorie intake remains adequate. Simple cooking hacks can amplify the benefits of all three types. Rinsing rice before cooking removes surface starch and improves texture. Cooking rice, cooling it fully, and reheating later increases resistant starch regardless of type. Adding a small amount of oil during cooking can slightly reduce starch digestibility and improve mouthfeel. Pairing rice with legumes, vegetables, fermented foods, or proteins not only balances amino acids but also slows glucose absorption and improves mineral uptake. What the numbers ultimately show is that no single rice type dominates across all dimensions. White rice offers speed and digestibility, brown rice delivers fiber and micronutrients, and parboiled rice bridges the gap with impressive nutrient retention and metabolic advantages. The most positive takeaway is that informed choice matters more than rigid rules. By matching rice type to individual needs, cooking methods, and meal context, it becomes possible to enjoy rice as both a cultural staple and a nutritionally intelligent food. Rice does not need to be defended or avoided. It needs to be understood and used with intention.